Boys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, giraffes, small mammals, one-eyed trouser snakes, whoever you are, wherever you are, welcome back to Bushka on Blitz. Wonderful to be here today reviewing a tank, the meat and two veg of the channel. It's what drives the numbers, what people want. They want reviews and they want them now. So, sorry about the time off. Last one we did was the ISU 152 there, you see. We're now on to the Object 704, the successor in the line. The 152, wonderful tank in its own right, but that was about 5 weeks ago we did the Dirty Derp fairy tale, and we're onwards and upwards now. You can see there, much taller tank and much narrower. So there's a lot more that's different between these two tanks, but that's the main thing straight away is aesthetically they look very, very different. I've been on a bit of a hiatus, mainly because of this bloody 500 subscriber video that I did, celebrating the channel itself by giving it a theme song, namely Johnny and the Spawn Campers singing Camp Spawn Get Torn. But that took a lot longer than expected and really, really slowed down the content. But have I got stuff coming your way? Have I what? We're going to do this review today. I've also got an E75 Wolfpack video featuring, I think it's Snake Eyes Warrior and 48-ton Ruckus, that super famous human that he is in his M103. And doesn't he just carry the day there? And we've also got some Platoon Boom stuff with Josh 8 running around in the mediums. Just a heap of stuff coming down the pipe. Going to do an E5 review. Can't wait to get stuck in. So we're going to talk today about a few things with this tank, namely the positives, i.e. the gun's great, the camo's fantastic, and the armor profile is much improved. Not saying it's great, but it's certainly improved. And some of the negatives, namely it's still not a terribly mobile tank. It's a tank destroyer, so it's going to get flanked. The armor is not fantastic. It's improved, but it's not fantastic. And it can struggle at end-of-game situations. And we're going to talk about all those things and more. While we're at it, if you want to have a chat, do so on the channel here. Always good to see that lively banter going on downstairs in the comments section. Or drop me a line in-game. I'm on the Asian server. I've got EU and North American accounts, but I just don't use them. Or jump onto the Asian Blitz portal, English-speaking forums, game discussion, always hanging around there. And finally, at Bushka on Blitz, the good old Twitter handle. But we're going to kick the whole box of dice off by having a look at the armor profile, boys and girls. So come along with me into Armor Inspector and let's see what's what with the Object 704. So here you go. This is the Object 704 at left is me and Infinity Strike having a roll on Winter Malanovka. But don't let that distract you. Let's talk about this. There's the 120mm front, sloped up to about 160mm of armor. You'll get tier 7 mediums that'll be able to pen you with a bit of APCR or even without APCR, given the right angle on the front. So the armor on this thing is small numbers. It's not about stopping shots. It's about deflecting and bouncing. And it's one of the reasons you can see here at the front, you've got 100mm lower glacis. That orange area is 120mm. Your gun mantles, that's a real key for you, is bouncing stuff off that massive, big, oversized gun mantle. But what the profile of this tank is built around is range sniping. It's got lots of angles, no flat spaces. And you can see there all kinds of angles, nothing flat, nothing going the same direction. So when you're range sniping, the tank does come into its own. Your angles work for you. Up close, not so much. You've got spaced armor on the sides, brilliant for deflecting heat and eating shots with your tracks and that side armor there, as well as very severely sloped wings on the tank. You'll see what I mean in a second. When I turn it around, you'll see from the frontal view there's a very severe slope above the tracks, behind that spaced armor, in the actual armor of the tank itself. And you can see, look at that. So all kinds of angles, all kinds of odd looks. And what that means is when people are looking at you at extensive range and firing at you, they're not getting a lot of flat surfaces. And that's why this tank works out of camo and works as an ambush predator, much like you can see here on the left. If you're up close and personal, there's a lot of green. You can see lots and lots of green. One thing the tank does have going for it is people don't realise that spaced armour on the side is actually there. It looks exactly like, and it's seamless, it's exactly like the actual armour itself and the plate itself. So they will often fire heat into spots that look green on the edge of the tank, and they're not. They'll just eat the shell. So a trap for young players, if you're firing at an object 704, the space between the tracks and the hull is spaced armour. It is not flat plate. Apart from that, at range, you will find people will often try and fire into the meat at the side of the tank, and if you move forward and backwards, it will vanish into the ether. Basically, your tank is a big hump with a long flat space at the rear. If you move forward when someone's firing at you at range, it just goes straight over the top of that back rear plate. Or it can again go into the tracks at the side or that spaced armour. So the armour profile works really well at range. It doesn't work so well up close. And that's a problem, but you're a tank destroyer. If you want to drive something that's got a massive armour profile that works up close, get a T95 and trundle along at 14 kilometres an hour into the battle and see how long that lasts you. This is great. This tank, it's an improvement from the ISU 152 across the board in my opinion. It does face tougher tanks because it's a tier 9, but the armour profile is just the start of that. And you can see here there's an object 704 at range that's not really doing very well. He doesn't have much choice. But that's the armour profile, guys. It's an interesting armour profile. Lots of green, lots of big open spaces to get hit, but at the same time, you're a glass cannon. You've got a huge big thing on the front that fires 640 alpha. Learn to deal with not having everything in this world, and you'll go a long way. And one of the reasons you'll go a long way in this tank is it's got outstanding camo. Now, I want to have a chat about camo. Basically, the way we work camo out is we look at the view range of the opposition. So if someone can see you at 100 metres and you've got a base camo value like this tank of 17.8, it's going to take that base camo value off their view range. So the higher your camo value, the closer they have to be to see you. And that's the reason this tank works so well. 17.81 is an outstanding camo value for this tank. There's very few tanks in the game, in Blitz particularly, with a higher camo rating than 17.81. If you add in a camo net, like I do, and vents, like I do, and you have a camo skill of 15, like I do, you end up with some big numbers in your camo. And you'll see here when we put those particulars into the World of Tanks info Camo Calculator, where you should be going for all your World of Tanks camo calculations, we get massive numbers. That's with a net, we go up to 32 odd camo value. With the vehicle camo perk that I've got, 35.838, and then with vents you end up at 36.38. But the most important one there is the camo level after the shot. If you can get behind some bushes with all that camo and fire, you will actually end up with a camo rating that allows you to fire without being seen. Now that's really important if you want to be an ambush predator. Now, if we put bushes into this whole equation, so you've got 0%, no bushes selected there, you have to actually select some bushes in that you see in the actual inset that I've got in the top left of the screen there. If you select bushes as well, you're going to have an absolute exponential increase. So if you can get behind a medium bush and get about 10 feet to 20 feet behind the bush, you'll have a camo rating that allows you to fire without being seen. That's key. If you have a medium hitting your flank and you hit him for 650 and he doesn't know where it came from other than a generic somewhere over there, it will pull things up very sharply. No one wants to go venturing out into the great unknown when there's a tier 9 tank destroyer waiting to drill them. And it's one of the reasons why, if you can actually get your camo working and find good spots with this tank, you can fire. And there's going to be some examples of this, some prime examples of this coming up soon in the actual gameplay. But it's an absolute must. You should accentuate your strengths, and your strengths with this tank are the ability to be an ambush predator and a massive big gun. So that's why I run a net. Camo rating's really important. Wargaming stuck it in there for a reason. They didn't give you a camo rating for nothing, and if that's why there's nets in the game. You have that ability to accentuate those strengths. You should do it, and that's what I do with my Object 704. So let's have a look at the weaponry, guys. You're still dealing with your BL10, the 152mm BL10. Now you'll see when you get this gun on the ISU 152, 3.4 second aim time, 0.41 dispersion, and those are the key factors. 286 pen, 329 on your APCR. The big winner here is your aim time. 0.5 off, 2.9 is really workable for a TD. It makes sniping a lot easier. Your 0.39 dispersion likewise is a nice improvement, but it's not going to be the end of the world. A little bit of an up in your rate of fire, very slight acceleration in your rate of fire, and your penetration stats are exactly the same. So the big key here for the gun, unlike the rest of the tank really, it's slight upgrades across the board. Your camo rating is slightly better, again, which was already good. Your gun is slightly better, which was already good. Your armor profile, which was horrible, now works into something that's less disastrous. And the gun is key with this. 0.39 is a good step forward. Getting past that 0.40 barrier in terms of dispersion is great, but the 2.9 second aim time, it frees you up really with your equipment choices as well. You're not stuck. The aim time issue on the ISU 152 is such that a lot of people will run a gun lane drive on that tank. At 3.4 seconds, I can agree with them that it's a big help. But at 2.9, you can get away with it. That's fine for a tank destroyer sniper to live with. You still want to be patient. You still want to grind things out. But 2.9 seconds is handy dandy. So yeah, we've had a look at the camo. The actual armor is obviously very important. And we've also had a big, long look at the weapon itself. And if you've looked at the ISU 152 review, you'd understand exactly where I'm coming from with that. Now, the tank does struggle at endgame situations because it's a tank destroyer, and it's very hard for a tank destroyer that relies on heavies and mediums to spot its prey, so to speak, to actually then turn around and push the pace and be the leading tank. But that's the price you pay for having this massive big gun and the ability to deal death at range. Is when you're not dealing death at range, things get tough. You have to know when to hold them and when to fold them with this tank. You have to know when it's right to actually push through and do the business and get involved up close and personal, because there are times when you have to do that. If you don't sacrifice some of your hit points at times and on occasion to give heavies and mediums a little bit of a breather at the front line, then you'll lose them. And if you lose those guys, it's like losing a big part of the tank. The tank's effective when it's got targets. The tank's effective when it's got allies. The tank's effectiveness goes down exponentially when it runs out of drivers to help it. And it's one of the reasons why mediums tend to excel the longer the game goes on, and especially a semi-mobile heavy like an E5, when things get down to the nitty-gritty, they can push the pace. You're not going to be able to do that so much in an Object 704. But for all that, it's a tank I really enjoyed playing. The numbers bear that out. Everything about it was good for me. And if you want to see a way to pad stats, this is it. Have a look at this. You go up behind, you switch to HE, and you just fire into the lower glacis at the rear of most tanks. 930. And that's how you make yourself look fantastic in the stat line, team. So we're going to have a look at 3 quick little rules that I run in this tank before we go and squiz at the gameplay proper. Firstly, when the map starts off, find something, if it allows, that has a clear field of fire and you have other tanks spotting for you in front. Not all maps will give you this opportunity. Some maps it's very tough to find, or the position is so bad that even if you have a clear field of fire, no one's going to go in it and there's no one spotting. It's got to fulfill those 3 criteria. There's corner on mines. This particular spot in Middleburg in the southwest corner is excellent. Parts of dead rail, they're all over the place, but they have to fulfill those 3 conditions. You've got to have some cover, you've got to have spotters in front of you, and you've got to have a clear and open field of fire. And you can see here we've got all the one channel down there in Middleburg. All the heavies come down it. There's other tanks in front of me spotting. This is tickety-boo. Now, secondly, you don't just use camo when you start the game off and start sniping. You'll see here, this is an E75 on dead rail. I've frozen the video. I am behind a shrub in the corner above the spawn, above the cap, sorry. He cannot see me. Simply put, I'm so close to him, he has no idea I'm there because I'm running a camo net and I'm utilizing the soft cover that's around. And that gives me the opportunity to get a free shot in the side of his turret and get the kill. Now his mate, the ST1, comes out, and this is where we're going to have a look at our third thing that I always do in this object 704, and you'll see it a lot during the gameplay, is I switch in a HE shell. He's a 119 hit point kill, but he has a decent armor profile. If it's a snapshot and I don't have a lot of hit points, there's a chance I get a bounce. We've all done that before. HE, if I splash him anywhere on his body or chassis, just about apart from the tracks, is going to absolutely do the business. I don't even have to worry about aiming the thing. All I've got to do is hit his tank somewhere, and this massive big Derp BL10 will do the rest of it for me. There you go. So let's go and have a look at the gameplay. And here we are running around on Dead Rail. I forgot what it was called. With Ace Infinity Strike. Some of the same names always popping up. Straight away, you'll see and I'll fast forward to this because I want to make some points here. Straight away, you see I've found myself a little bit of brush, a little bit of cover, and I've got a good mate running a big heavy tank who's going to spot targets up the front and basically put his armor profile on the line so that I can do whatever I want at the rear. Now, two key things here. One, I'm sniping. Why not? It's what I'm good at. It's what I should be doing. Don't let people calling you noob disturb you. They don't have a clue, and when you do a 4K damage and carry the day, they can suck eggs. Two, I found cover immediately. It was the first thing I did in the game. I didn't muck around following people forward. I didn't muck around just sitting still and waiting for the tanks to come to me. Went and found myself some cover. The reason I haven't moved further back here is there's a rock on my left, so if anyone flanks up on the left-hand side, I can move forward, and I've got protection there as well. It's all about preparation with this tank. You want to absolutely have it in a situation where you can be effective and be successful. And our final little bit of camo trickery, you'll see here, we're on Falls Creek. This E100 is in the cap circle, doing the right thing, pushing the pace, and I am hitting from camo, and camo is not being reset. I'm just at the right kind of range where this little shrub in front of me is killing any chance you've got of viewing me, and I get to basically put shells in uninterrupted into the cap circle while that T44 up there on the left spots for me. Middleburg. This is a very tough map from this side if you don't have mediums to go up and support on the left flank, or if they have mediums that'll come around, or people that are going to flank. Our mediums have, or the one medium we have, has dropped straight down on this map and given up the ghost early. He doesn't want to face that T44. It's that Super Pershing. Yeah, I'm not happy with that being classified as a medium. It kills my medium flank sometimes. But anyway, I'm in a real quandary here because there's no open field of fire. I certainly can't push the map myself. And yeah, I don't want to abandon this flank because everyone else has. And once it's abandoned, they'll just come and clean up whoever is at the rear, and that's going to be me because I'm in the Object 704. So I'm in a no-win situation. I've got to fight. There's just no other way around it. I know that T44 is there, so what I'm going to do is get that building in front of me so he doesn't get decent shots on anything but my tracks, and you see there we took one on the tracks. This IS-3 comes around the corner, and I'm doing the same thing with him, and then I'm just going to utilise the building behind me, make sure he can't get round behind me. I was really surprised that didn't go in, but that's what you get for being lazy and not zooming in on your shot. Get the IS-3, the T44, and now we're in the middle of the road there, so I can go to a building on either side. And you'll note I actually put my reticle behind him, so my tank snapped all the way through, and easy shot. So we did the business there, held the flank, stopped the Red Devils from coming screaming down and busting caps in our ass, as the vernacular may be. Now this IS-6, I've got no qualms coming out. He's on 1100 odd hit points, but that's a 2-shot, and even though I don't have a lot of hit points, I know I can put 2 in the IS-6. And that's where I did the hit point trade-off. He's going to get 1 on me, but whatever, 2 will do the business and kill him. He's 4 rounds per minute as well, the old IS-6, but with one of the worst dispersions you've ever seen. I think it's 0.43 the dispersion on that gun. T32 is it? Yeah, T32. Just finishing off the T32, and all is well and good, and the rest of the team knocked the T95. So you can see there, you can side scrape a little bit in this tank, but it's more about knowing when to be flexible. The tank is a flexible tank. If you give it the opportunity to use the BL10, it's got a lot of stopping power, but you can't just sit in the open and refuse to move and refuse to change your tactics because the map's changed its tactics. Ideally, I would have liked to have sat back on the hill there and just sniped, but if you don't get that opportunity, then you've got to put yourself in the best position to be successful. And use what cover you can. Now here we are, southwest corner of the map. We talked about this before. This is exactly where you want to be. That shrubbery in front gives me a massive big camo rating. My camo rating, even after firing here, is going to be in the 30s to 40s, which means these guys down there are never going to see me. And they can see you. If you do not have a bush in front of you here and you're on this hill, you'll get spotted and you'll get drilled. That T34, that ISU 152, is just absolutely balls to the wall going for it. I can't believe he pushed that hard on a T34, but he did, and he had an angel on his shoulder, namely me. So I know the flank's coming because it got blown a long time ago, so I get to the zone line there. It gives that E50 no chance to get behind me. I know Jimmy's doing the business, so you can go Jimmy 040. He has got my back in the T95, and we nailed that E50M pretty handily. Always, you've seen I've used a building, I've used a zone line. You've got to be able to squeeze mediums and heavies against those obstacles so that they can't get round behind you. Now I switched to HE there. He moved a bit so we didn't get a clean hit, only 521, but that's decent enough. If I had a hit, it would have been just about a killing blow. We get one in the Pershing, all well and good. But the main part about this map is that spot in that corner, using the camouflage and squeezing against that zone line. Building, zone line, rock, anything you can find that is going to cause a heavy or a medium to not be able to go around behind you and put shots into you without any, well, they just don't have to worry about it. Now this one, good golly Miss Molly, dead rail. I'll tell you, this game, funny thing, I had this review completely finished, and I didn't have any decent games, and I was like, I thought I had all these great games, so I finished the review, a couple of 4K games, that was it, and I went back to delete all the files on the iPad because obviously they take up a huge amount of space, and while I found them all, I found another 10 games from like 6 weeks ago that were all interesting and decent and showed things and I'd saved on purpose to actually put in a video. So I had to completely redo the review, and this game is one of them. This is the most frustrating game, and this is what life is like as an Object 704. You'll note I miss a lot of shots in this game, and that's fair enough because at the end of the game, the bounces that they're getting here that aren't going in, I get on my Object 704. So it's all fair play's turnabout. Anyway, this was a really frustrating game in that you have to do this in this tank sometimes. You have to snipe. You can't move forward. This is a tier 10 match. If I go forward, there is tanks facing me that will absolutely drill me. That Jagdpanzer 100 will take half my hit points with one shot. I just can't afford to move forward. I can't afford to press the pace. You sometimes have to let the game come to you. And it can be frustrating because you can see there's a guy in here who just starts yelling and ranting about how we're all chickens and cowards and blah, blah, blah. You're a tank destroyer. If you are camping and there are heavies in front of you and you are doing damage, you're doing the business. Look at this. This is another bounce. Like, it's an IS-3 for God's sake. I've got 300 mils of penetration on this thing. I don't know where that went. And this one, T62A. Yep, I think I might have hit him in the track. Just one of those things. So we're now down 5 tanks to 2, but we get one. Yeah, you can see the patterns telling us to all get fucked. Excuse the language. And then we immediately switch up to this IS-3. Now this IS-7 has a good game. He just kept doing the business. And we get our second kill. And suddenly things are moving. 3-2, but it's a T-54 and a Jagdpanzer 100. Now is the time to move. You've really got to know when. And I've got to get here and get fire into this Jagdpanzer. I've checked him out. The IS-7's missing hit points. I want to try and take the next shot from this guy because basically I want to spread our hit point pool around, and I do, which is much better because I don't want to be dealing with a T-54 on my own. And I'm charging and hoping the IS-7 comes up behind me and stops me from being Circle of Death, and God bless him, he does. What a good thing it is to have a teammate every once in a while who knows what they're doing. This T-54, we push forward, and you see now we get a couple of bounces. They've been getting bounces on us all game. Now we're getting a couple of bounces. And this is the way the tank works. It can frustrate other people who are just looking for you to go to the front and hit people with your gun, but you do not have the armor profile to reliably do that. You're not a T-95. If I was a T-95, I would have pushed that corner there quite comfortably or gone straight up towards Cap. I wouldn't have climbed the hill and tried to do anything. And you can see there's one of those first fantastic, glorious bounces. Woohoo! They're very handy to get. And that pattern, he was frustrated, and you can understand why. People didn't move forward. But if you're in a medium, you've got the ability to pick pace and dictate play. I don't. So it's just me and the T-34. All I need is that one last bit of HE. We talked about the HE, and there's the kill. A very unlikely turnaround from 5-2 down. Still didn't get the mastery badge, but 5,700 damage. Very solid. Very happy with the result. You might have to wait. You might have to be patient. But as long as you get what you're after, and everyone goes away happy. And the Patton can have his rant, and he can still get his win. So, everyone's a winner. Here we are in another tough situation. They've got two mediums. I'm on the flank. I've got heaps of cover, but our mediums are pushing out. They're not finding any enemies at all. There's no one there for me to shoot. And this is one of those odd spots where even if someone pops on that corner, it's not an easy place to snipe. And Middleburg, and this map in particular, can get you in situations where you've got to basically go and do wet work. You've got to get bloody and dirty, and you've got to get up the front and have a crack. Now, that Tiger one over there, I'm never going to get shots on him. I've got to move. I can see that the main channel over there on the eastern side is starting to really heat up, and that's where the majority of our forces are. But there's also guys in the middle of the map, Reds in the middle of the map, who are going to flank them. Now, there's a target on my right near the cap circle, in fact, and I am going to have to take hits from those guys. But it's important that I don't let this pattern flank round and get in behind our tanks. And watch this, switch to HE, hit him, 900, 1038. That is how you use the BL-10, boys and girls. The back of Yankee tanks are absolute playgrounds for these big guns. If you're not putting HE into the back of those guys, you're wasting your time. And that's a 2-shot in the pattern. And now I've saved the flank so we can keep pushing up the one channel. And I've got an IS-3 and a Churchill in front of me, and that Churchill is not going to be for this world very long with the BL-10, I'll tell you that much. There we go. That's one into him. Things are looking grim for you. We side-scraped straight off this wall, so he doesn't get a shot. There is no angle there for him, because remember, we do not have a whole lot of armour on this tank. We've just got lots of odd angles. But if I get straight onto that wall, we'll be okay. We've lost the one track. Fair enough. You can't win them all. I've got to get rid of this IS-3 before I turn around and face this like an E-75 behind me and mates. So I'm pushing so they don't get a shot on my ass. And this IS-3 has to be nutted. So this T-44 helps out. If he can just get one into him, he's a 2-shot kill for me. You beaut, turn. 3-all. We got this. We can do this. So these guys are coming. I'm just moving on a reload. Thank God I didn't crash those boxes before. There's the E75. T-34. We're down 2-3, but look, he's a 1-shot for me. They are too strong, says the T-20. Negative, buddy. I can't help myself. I've got to type bullshit because that's the kind of man I am. And it's now 3-1. And we have done the business. This Panther's the last one. Tidy him up. So the tank works. If you've got lots of obstacles you can move around and you can use that stopping power of the BL-10. If you can make tanks 2 shots, then you're allowed to take 1 shot and you might even bounce it and you're a go. Still no mastery there. Unfortunately, I don't think I've ever got mastery in this. Nearly 5k damage. And I've had some of my most fun games on Fort Despair in my ISU 152 and my Object 704, simply because they're the kind of maps where you can utilise the tank destroyer's ability to get places and deliver massive alpha. There's no other tank destroyers in this tier who can move around the way you move around. Even though it's not going to save you from getting Circle of Death, it's still a very strong mobility package. So here we are, we're on Castilla. Now you'll note, I'm up in the corner, knocked a tree down. Guess who's in a bush? That's me. But if they move close enough, they are going to spot me. Now, you know, he didn't see me. I'm going to get a free shot at him when he comes around this corner because he didn't see me. But I'm moving, and I stuffed my shot. So you got to pump forward, going to pump forward. Now it's a tier 10 game, so there's plenty of nasties out there. Switch to HE. Oh, 951. Backs of American tanks, boys and girls. If you are not putting HE into the back of them, you are absolutely kidding yourself. Leopards and the back of American tanks, they're the things you use HE on, and boy do they hurt. So we've had a couple of big hits there. Very helpful to the team. That T110E3 was an absolute game changer. He was turning for home. And now we're just putting shots in the Tiger. The poor old Tiger 2. Don't waste your shells. This E75 is still stuck down here. So you see very, very much a spot there that you can utilise if you've got heavies running down that roadway. But it can really, really be a dicing with death if you have to turn around. And they've got all the way down already, because you're going to get spotted eventually as soon as you fire. So there's a Tiger 2 up there still, but we've nailed that. We've nailed the E75 and the T110E3, and we're heading for cap to support the rest of our team. There's still a Jagdpanzer E100, and there is a Patton roaming around somewhere. Now you see I've switched to HE again. Not needed. The E100 handled him pretty handily, but that guy did reset the cap. Well done, IS3 driver. Took a big hefty shot to the face. There's a Jagdpanzer out there. The Ferdinand is stuck. You might have noted when he went down that hill before. Yeah, he's stuck. He's just pointing at the water. Now I'm looking at shots here, trying to get shots on the Jagdpanzer E100, but I'm spotted. So retreating. There's a Jagdpanzer in front of us. There's the Ferdinand stuck at the back, which is just... I've been there. Far out, it's frustrating. We're a tank up, but really we're not a tank up. So, hammer the T62A. Sorry, I said it was a Patton before. I meant T62A. Hammer the T62A as he comes around the corner. And now it's the Jagdpanzer E100. Get a big hefty shell in the lower glacis of the Jagdpanzer. And gonna nail the back of him. Boom. 4 kills, Top Gun. And FJ, obviously meaning good game. Good job. And no mastery again. Did get a Hallidans though, and 4k damage. You can see using HE in the back of American tanks is an absolute must. It just destroys them. And people don't do it often enough. There's quite a few tanks out there with very, very weak rears, and your HE will do 90 mils of penetration. If they've got sub 90 mils and they're big targets, use them. So here we are again. I'm in a bush, and we hammer that T54. Pimp Daddy is on the hill doing the business. Actually, pretty good disposition of forces here. Our heavies are going the hill. I'm the only tank destroyer, and I'm supporting them pretty handily. And we've got 2 guys flanking, so you think it would all be a straightforward run-of-the-mill affair. But, you know, true love never runs so sweet. There's an IS-8 out here on the corner. He's gone island. Normally you'd think that'd be a waste of time, but it's actually working out pretty well for their team. It's forcing a little bit of a halt on the advance up the mountain there. They've got the hill. They've claimed the hill. So this T-54 is blowing up at Pimp Daddy for being an idiot. I don't know why. Pimp's doing a great job. That Tiger 2, now there's our platoon mate. We're going to support our platoon mate, and we put effective fire into that Tiger 2. Very much the case. Pimp's holding the line there. If he is not there, they are screwed. Now, you're going to see one of two very nice little bits of good fortune in this game. This is the first. Completely obliterate poor old Hyena in the IS3 with an ammo rack. And Pimp affirmatives me on that one. He's very happy. That's his flank safe and secure. He doesn't have to worry. We quickly take out the Tiger 2. And now Pimp's got 2 in front of him up there. And I've got 2 coming on my left down here. And it's all down to the boys in orange to see if we can in fact do it. Unlucky bounce on the IS8. So like you get your share of luck and you get your share of bad bounces, and that's just how the game goes. And it's one of the things I do love about it. But if he sticks his nose out there for too long, he knows he's in trouble. And Pimp still holding. They're coming around the corner now, no, so I got to move. And this is just the truth in this tank. Sometimes you have to know when to move. Oh my God, that's a horrible bounce. So for all the good luck you have, you then have things like that occur. That should have been straight through the middle of it, and I absolutely stuffed it up. But that one was solid, 691. There's a Tiger 1 behind him. I've taken the heat off Pimp. He can keep focusing on the guys in front of him. And I just need to somehow survive this. Well, how do you survive? You ammo rack, of course. 943 on the IS8. The T44 is on my right. The Tiger 1 is on my left. I am low on the hit points. I've got to pick my poison here and try and kill one of them. The T44 wants the kill, though. He's backed off. He thinks he's got it. He's coming again. Go BL10. He disappeared. He actually he was a solid player, but he judged his camo wrong. He thought camo had reset, and I got to see him moving forward. That's something you should remember. When you're moving and they can still see you and you can still see them, they can see your intentions. Wait till it resets before you start rolling forward or backing off. There you go, though. Good game. Pimp, you idiot, ST1. The T54, he's all over you. 5.5k. Pimp did 3k. That's what you call a legendary carry. True Huai or T54, whoever you were on your 619. Stop whinging. Pretty solid effort there. And Pimp and all these guys, it's always good to have a very, very good platoon mate. It makes life just an absolute barrel of laughs compared to your normal run-of-the-mill potatoes. So you don't have to worry about people spotting for you because he's going to push the line and hold it. He doesn't go silly. He just gives me all those shots, which was lovely. And here I am again, a couple of games later. We're on Falls Creek. Now, I'm actually looking at this game after putting it in here and finding it and realising I think I've done this game in a platoon boom, but it doesn't matter. We'll do it again. It's here and it suits and it's in an Object 704. If you haven't looked at the Platoon Boom series, you probably should. Lots of fun games there, platooning with different people from the forums and servers. In this case, Pimp Daddy's in the ST1. Look at all those elbow lickers over on the bridge. Look at them. Absolutely bloody hopeless. If you're on Falls Creek and you want to turn it into Fails Creek, the quickest way to do it is to go to bridge, because you give the enemy team, the red team, the opportunity to simply go to the cap circle and push the pace and control the game. But Pimp's here and I'm here and we're working our own little corner of the world, just supporting each other, making sure that one after the other, as they move forward, Pimp's got such a beautiful armor profile on that ST1. And you'll see here he tells me negative. He doesn't want me to go down there too far and possibly die trying to derp that when the Yag Tiger's there. Negative. That's right. The Pimp says. I say, okay, Pimp. I pull back and I do the business on that Yag. Now, that's what playing with a good platoon mate is like. You've got to develop an understanding. It's now 4 tanks to 3. But the guys, if you go bridge, you are wasting your time. You end up having to go to the cap because that's where the action happens. Go to the cap in the first bloody place. It's me and Pimp 3 on 3 now, as everyone else is slowly whittling away. I move around, just try to give him a hand on that T34, and we do so, or T29 rather. Very similar looking tanks, and I've got this running at double speed. So let's just slow it down to single speed so we can finish this off without sounding like we're calling a horse race. Now Pimp's going to move forward. I make the mistake of not reading that move and whether or not it was a good move is irrelevant. My teammate's gone forward. I should have gone forward with him. But I've stuck in the cap. Now that means that pimp is now that T54 and the E50 are able to focus on him together. I realise it's a little bit late and I'm moving forward and I miss a key shot here on the T54, which leaves me in a really tough situation because pimp's dead. It's me and I've got 2 tier 9 mediums on me. I find some cover and I realise the next shot, one of these guys has to go down. Doesn't matter if I take a hit, one of them has to go down and then I'm going to push. Now the reason I push is I'm cutting off the angle. That T54 should have gone. He missed his chance. Now he wants to go around me, but I've got an angle on him. I'm not facing him. I'm not trying to get him in front of me, nose to nose. I just want to stop him from getting by. I'm grinding into him, making sure that there is absolutely no opportunity for him to get around my tank. Again, a whole heap of bling there, but no mastery. I don't think I have mastery on this tank. I still haven't checked, but anyway. Plenty of damage. Pimp, big numbers. I got just over 4k. Definitely a platoon carry on that, and a very, very tense game to finish. Now, here we are. Dead rail again. This is what I'm talking about. At the start of the game, you want to have a situation where you have a clear field of fire, check, where you have camouflage, check, and where you have spotters in front of you. Not so much. So, as much as I would have liked to have been sitting right next to that big rock behind a bush with someone on my flank and my heavies going down the main line, I can't stay there because there is absolutely no point. So we're going to move forward just a touch to where I've actually followed the rest of the team forward. We've now been flanked. Now, this is a terrible idea. You cannot send an entire team down one flank. It just never works. It's a horrible idea. Basically, every time someone in front of you spots you, your entire flank or your entire side is then visible to the guys that are not in front of you, which it's like on Oasis Palms and everyone goes one way, but we get our first kill. And we're up here in the high country. I'm not particularly fond of this spot because although it seems like it's dominant, it's got lots of loopholes. There's lots of spots where you can be hit. You've generally got to peek over an edge to get your shots in. And there, you know, we miss another. I don't know what it is about dead rail, but Jesus, I donked some shots here. And you can see now, they're all over us, like white on rice. We're 2 tanks down. We're putting effective fire in, but we don't have a lot of choice. You can see that camo hasn't reset, I don't believe, and that ST1 knows exactly where I am, and he does return fire. And that's what happens when you don't let your camo reset, Bushka, you numpty. So then I obviously wait a little bit and then move back. So I've got some camouflage and miss another shot on the IS. Bit rushed that one, but I didn't have many choices. I didn't have much in the way of choice on that at all. So forward we go. We're now down. It's 6 tanks to 3, right? And this is what happens when you're in a tank destroyer. You often, like, people can whinge and whine about it, but you can actually have very little choice in the way the battle plays out if your team are numpties. Like, you don't get to pick and choose your routes like you do in a medium. There's a KV3 up here with me and a T54 who's now died. I mean, why the heavies all decided to go the flank, I'll never know. But here we are. 5 tanks to 2. And Hesley is not particularly optimistic. But, you know, there you go. And here's what I talked about earlier. We did show you this example earlier. You can see I found my camouflage there. Little bit of brush. No chance for that E75. Now we're starting to even up the teams. 4 to 2. I'm spotted, and that ST is going to get me. But once he's unloaded, that means I can go down and absolutely have... Now, we all know what happens here. Obviously, I'm going to put the HE shell into the side of him, and it's going to do the business, and it's going to be 3 tanks to 2. There we go. 3 left. 1 at tier 9, but he's on bugger all hit points. So we've got a T34 there as well, which is a little bit of a worry, and a KV3. And the T34 has snuck up on my right while I was trying to type for the KV3 to go and spot for me, and put one into me, which hurt quite a bit. But we get a HE shell into the side of him. That's so productive using your HE shells on low hit point targets, because that was into the side of the turret of the T-34. I didn't have the gun depression to get down into the soft spots, and an AP shell very likely would have bounced. But we do get an AP shell. 729 is a very good damage roll into the top of that KV-3. He's got a nice gun too. He can pen the front of me, there is no doubt about it. 529, but take that one right by the look of it on the noggin, on the gun mantle. And here we go. We've switched back to HE, beat him on the reload, 142. Straight in the front of him, don't even have to worry about aiming. Only one tank left. And the KV-3 is still with me. He's got a fair bit of hit points, and I know this tier 9 is all but done and dusted. And here's what I wanted to type originally. Go spot. Give me some targets, KV-3, but he's not moving. That KV-3 knows where his bread's buttered, and apparently it is camping up the top. So we switch again to HE. 144 to get through anywhere on the superstructure. 169, sorry. And there's our final game. Winner, chicken dinner. So guys, it's been wonderful having here. And again, first badge mastery, 6 kills. You know, get your pulls, but still not a mastery badge. I don't know what you've got to do to get a gold mastery badge in this tank. A lot more than 5-7 damage and all that kind of rubbish. But anyway, winner, chicken dinner. Been wonderful doing another review for you all. It was a bit convoluted. I thought it was going to be up yesterday, but it's not. All well and good. I'm glad to have you here with me. There'll be lots more material coming. Can't wait to get it out there to you. Keep the review requests and the chat going in the channel. And, you know, nothing but love for the channel. You guys have been really positive. Lots of support, lots of good ideas, lots of constructive criticism. And it makes the world go round. So, once again, I'm Bushka on Blitz. Thanks for having me. Stay safe on the battlefield. Ciao.